All right, all right. Hello, hello. Think it is good now. All right, sorry about that. Hope everyone is doing okay. Just picking up where we left off from yesterday, building a full stack nextjs application. This is day two of several days of where we'll be building this application live, and then once it is ready, we'll publish it to the web and utilize it for personal use. But basically, what we have is a full stack app using Next.js as the framework, Prisma as the ORM, Postgres Neon for the database. So far, we've just built a CRUD application. So we have the ability to create, update, delete students within our database. So right now we have two students listed. If we wanted to add another, we would click on new student. We'll be redirected to the student slash new route. We can add in a student name. I'll add Jazz. We'll click create student. Once we click the button, we'll be redirected to the home route. The data is being revalidated so that we get the most recent data from the server. And with that, we now have a new student listed within the home route. In the event we needed to change the name of the student or make any sort of update, we'll just click on update. And from there, we're redirected to the individual student route and we can make any changes. So I'm just going to add a Y to Jazz to make it jazzy and click update. And as you can see, we are immediately redirected back to the home route and the data is revalidated. And we also have the ability to delete. So let's say we want to delete a student. I'll add another student of test. And if we click delete, it is immediately deleted, no refreshes or anything to the main page. So that is what we have thus far, a simple full stack CRUD app using Next.js as the framework, Prisma as the ORM, and Postgres vercel as the database. Yep. So listen, I appreciate everyone stopping by. Make sure we can hear and everything is okay, and we'll jump in and get started in just a moment. All right, let's go ahead and jump into code. So my Git pod virtual text editor is up and going. That's a good thing. And what we have so far, I'm gonna close out some of these pages. I think I'll kick things off by working on the layout of the project. Let me see. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? I appreciate you stopping by. All right, so we'll start. We can actually keep these routes because we will need them later on. Let's start by styling the root layout. And I think what we'll do is let's set this up so we have it side by side. So give me just a moment. Do that. Add a window. One second. Get this set up. I'm gonna move this over. All right, there we go. Should be able to see both. Lock that in. All right, there we go. All right, so let's get the code in. So we'll focus on styling the layout first. Move this over. And we'll give it a class name and set the height to full and a direction of flex. You can't really see anything right now. So I'm going to remove this div and replace it with a new div named logo. We'll have a div with logo and another div for sidebar. Perfect. Hey, what's going on, my friend? Thank you so much for stopping by. Just coding a full stack application today using nextjs, working on this, picking up where we left off the other day. Just going to style this layout and add maybe some functionality, but we're probably won't finish it today, but we'll put a nice little dent in it. Yep. Tailwind for styling, nextjs as the framework, prisma as the ORM, postgres neon as the database, and we're using vercel, and we'll deploy it later on as well. Yep. So going to begin next by styling the well, you know what, let's go ahead and give some direction to the children that's within this layout. So we'll remove it and update that. The initial div, the outer div, that's right above the main tag. We'll give it a class name and set the width to 14%. Give it a border right. Make the border color neutral, 200. And we'll set the border to dotted. Click save. And then now we see it updated here on screen. It's taking up 14% of the view. And we can go ahead and set the same for the main tag. We give it a class name with a width of 86%. So the overflow to scroll. And we'll set the background color to pound F7F8FA. Click save, and then notice that it is a little darker bluish or gray color, so that's perfect. And what we have is the nav bar, or the main section, is taking up 86% of the view, while the sidebar is going to take up 14%, and that's going to be regardless of the size of the window. So that's perfect. All right, and we'll go ahead and begin to style out build the logo component and the sidebar now. So within the root of the project, we'll add a folder named components. Inside of components, we'll add a folder named sidebar and another folder named, we'll name this navbar. And we'll add one more directory inside of components named UI. Okay, so in the UI directory, let's add a folder named logo.tsx. We'll use the RAFC snippet to create a component, excuse me, a export function. Save this, and now we'll go ahead and import this into the main layout. So inside of layout, we'll import logo, and that should be coming from @/components/logo. And we can replace the div that represents the logo with the actual logo component itself. Click save. And then we'll just notice that we now have the casing of the text that's from the logo file or component that we just created. So that's perfect. All right, so for the logo, we won't be doing much with it, just to have something simple on screen. Excuse me. That's going to represent the logo of our website. I think we'll name this student tracker. And for the logo, I want a icon just to give it some styling, or a little more of a better user presence, if you will. So we'll import React icons for styling. Hey there, how's it going? Yep, just doing some live coding, answering questions. This is a nextjs app. We set up the crud functionality yesterday. Today we're just doing some styling for the overall layout, setting the sidebar and the nav bar for the dashboard. And we may go ahead and update the list for students, but we currently have the crud capability in place. Now we're just working on styling. Yep, that is correct. Absolutely. Okay, so we have that cared for. We'll say overflow. I'll remove this. That'll be suffice. Okay. All right, so in the logo component, let's import a icon, and this is going to come from React icons, and we'll be using the PI, and we'll say PI student duotone. And we'll also need to bring in link, that is coming from next link. Inside of the return statement, we can remove the div and replace it with link, and the link will have a href back to the root or the home route. We'll give this a class name. so that we can style the elements in the link of flex and set the direction by default to column. On medium devices, we want it flex row. The items to be centered, and we'll go justify centered. On medium, we want it justify start. Justify start. We'll give it a gap of 1. On medium, we'll go gap of 2. Padding of 4. Just so we can see something on screen, let's go ahead and type logo. There it is there. Okay, at the padding of 4, on hover, we want the opacity to be 80, just to give it a little effect. And we'll add transition so it's not so choppy when we hover over it. We'll add the icon first with a height and width. We'll set it to 5. And we'll give it a text color of warning. Now we'll give it a text color of amber 700. Click save. Let's see the student listed there. And then next to it, we'll add a span with the name of the website, which will be student tracker. Let's set this to 6, a little bigger. Okay. And let me see. I think that will do. Let me just see what this looks like. I'm gonna style the text with a class name of hidden. On medium, we'll go inline block. Okay, it is removed now. And then we'll go text neutral 600. Set the font to bold. We'll make it tracking type. Set the text to small. And on medium, we'll set the text to base. I think we'll keep it consistent. Set both of them to neutral 600. Perfect. Excuse me. Okay. I think that doesn't look bad. All right. Give me 1 second here. It's still rather small. Let me see something. Must have something a little off there because it is still showing to be fairly small. Excuse me. Type 6 with the 6 class name. Hmm. Strange. Let me see something. Man, let me stop this right quick. Let me restart the server. And while that's going, let me look at this. There we go. Just needed to restart the server. And let me change and refresh this. There we go. So it is showing up appropriately now. I guess before the server wasn't running properly and it wasn't updating, but we seem to be back in business now. So that's great. Great, 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 great. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and begin to style out the rest of the sidebar, and we'll go ahead and close the logo out because we're done with it. And we'll remove or update this div and replace it with the component. So back in the directory inside of the sidebar folder, let's add a file named sidebar.tsx. Add the RAFC snippet just to get something on screen, and we'll go sidebar, click save. And then inside of the layout, let's import sidebar. And that's coming from @/component/sidebar. We'll remove the div and replace it with sidebar. Click save. And we see that we have the sidebar now listed on screens. Absolutely perfect. We'll go back to the file and we'll begin to style out the sidebar. So just to kind of talk through what we want to accomplish with this, basically what we want is a sidebar that has various routes or links to routes. We'll have an icon and the text, which will be the name or the label of the sidebar. If we're in a mobile view, the sidebar will be reduced. So at that point, we'll only be able to see the icon. And if we're in a desktop view, obviously we'll be able to see the icon and the text. That's what we're going for. The exact same responsiveness that we have for the actual logo. You notice how you only see the logo icon on small devices, and on the desktop, excuse me, you actually see the icon and text. So let's go ahead and update that now. So the first import we'll need is link. That is from next/link. We'll also import path name, and that is coming from next navigation. And then finally, we're going to add a lightweight package that will allow us to conditionally render text and dynamically pass data within our CSS classes, and that's going to be CLSX. So in the terminal, we'll open up a new terminal and type in the command npm iclsx and press enter. Close this, and we'll go to the package.json. And if we look in it, we see that we have that dependency installed. So that's perfect. So let's go ahead and import it. CLSX, coming from CLSX, perfect. And we're getting this error message because we're using use path name. And this is a client component. So as you can see, the error message is telling us that we'll need to fix mark the file or its parent within the use client directive. So let's add that at the top of the file now. So we'll just add use client, click save, and voila, the error no longer exists. So in order to have the links dynamically highlighted based upon the route that we are on, we'll need to have the imports that we brought in, which will be link, which is coming from next link, use path name, which is from next navigation, and also CLSX. Inside of the sidebar component, we'll go ahead and get access to use path by creating a const named path name and setting it equal to use path name. Be sure to call it. I'm going to remove the div text and replace it with a aside tag HTML. We'll start by giving this a class name and setting the width to full. We'll set the direction to flex column. We'll give it a padding of 4, and we'll set the background color to white. Now, just to make sure this is working, I'm just going to add aside on the screen. And as you can see, the text is now centered. So what I want to do now is dynamically pull in the routes for the application. And instead of hard coding them within this file, I want to create a separate file that we can store our routes in, and we can have that as the central location for any route in the application. If we need to add, update, or make changes to any routes, we'll do so within this one specific file. So inside of the root directory, inside of lib, let's add a file named routes.ts, excuse me. Within this, remember with the routes, I want to display a couple of things. I want to display the icon, which will be to give it some styling and the primary indicator when we're on a small view. And we'll also want to display the href and the label. So if we need the icons, we'll need to go ahead and begin by importing from React icons. I'm going to use the FI icons in this file, and we'll be importing the home icon and also users. User. We'll create an export const named sidebar. Export const sidebar routes. And this will be an array of objects. So we'll have the square brackets, and then the first curly bracket will be the first object. We'll have a label, which will be home, a href, which will be slashed in the home route. And we'll also include a icon, which will be fi home. Outside of the curly brackets, we'll add a comma and then one additional curly bracket, which will be the second object. We're going to have 2 routes to start out. The first one is the home route. The second one is going to be the student route. So the label for this will be student. We'll add a href of slash students. And just to make sure for accuracy purposes, yeah, we named it slash student. And then the final key value will be icon, which will be a FI users. Sorry, I think I brought in the wrong one. So there we go. All right. And we're exporting this, so we can just click save and close out the route file. And we'll go back to the sidebar. And now we're ready to render those labels and link on screen. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Yep, I appreciate you stopping by. Just coding a full stack app. Right now, working on the styling of the application. I've already built out the crud functionality, which is the text you see on screen right now. But basically, this is an application that's connected via nextjs, and we're connected to prisma vercel, prisma via postgresql neon vercel, excuse me. And right now, just working on the actual styling of the app, the styling and the layouts. That is correct. Yep. Yeah, I appreciate you stopping by. It means a lot. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. If you got any requests at all, just go ahead and drop it in the chat. Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go ahead and work on this aside. Okay, so we'll need to bring in those routes because we want to display something on screen for each of those routes. So at the top of the sidebar.tsx file, we'll import sidebar routes and make sure it's coming from @/lib/route. And we already have access to use path name. Inside of the return statement, inside of the aside tag, we'll remove the text and we'll add the curly braces because we're getting ready to render some JavaScript. And we'll just say sidebar routes and we'll use .map to map over the array. For each item in the sidebar routes, we're going to name it route. And before we return something, we want to create a const name is active to determine if we're on the active route. And that const is going to be equal to, let's close that out. It's going to be equal to path name, which represents the use path name hook. And we're going to set that equal to route.href. So basically what this is saying is that is active is going to be defined by using the path name and setting it equal to with the three equal marks route.href. And we'll create a const name icon and set it equal to route.icon. Then we'll need to return something on screen. We'll use the keyword return and we're going to display a link with a href of route.href. And what we want to show is the icon and we're going to give it a class name with a height of 5, a width of 5. Shrink, we'll set shrink to 0. Okay, and now we see those icons listed there. And then we'll also include a span for the label. We'll go route.label. And the span will have a class name of hidden, so we won't be able to see it on the current view. But once we go back to the desktop view, we'll be able to see it. And we'll go inline block and set the text size to small. So this is just what we see right now. And if we flip over to the desktop view, you notice that we have the icon and the text on the large view. So that's perfect. Let's go ahead and style the links a little bit. We'll give this a class name and we're going to pass in some dynamic data using CLSX. So we'll have curly braces and we'll call CLSX. We'll add a parentheses. The initial style will be flex. We'll set the items to center, give it a gap of 3, rounded medium, padding on the X of 3, on the Y of 2, We'll go transition hover and set the background color to amber 500. Now here's the fun part. Now if we happen to get, or we're on an active route, we want there to be a distinguished color, and if there is not an active route, we want the text to be a distinguished color. So we're going to set the background color to amber 400, and we'll set the text to amber 900, and set the font to semi bold. And this is going to represent is active. And if it is not active, we want to display something as well. We'll go text neutral 700, which will be the default color. This will be not is active. We'll click save. And as you can see, this is the text what we have on screen because we're on the home route. Oh, link needs a key, sorry. So inside of link, let's add a key. Sorry, it needs to be, yeah, here. We'll give it a key of route.href. Perfect. All right, so as you can see, it is already working because we're on the home route. The home icon is highlighted. Let's add in the student route. Inside of the website directory, inside of student, we had a file named page.tsx. And we'll create a snippet and call this student page. Click save. So now if we go to this route, which should be /student, you see student is now highlighted on screen, and we see the student page, which is the text here. To test it out, click save. We see the extra E's added. Perfect. And we can go back to the home route. Let's make sure it's, or see what this looks like on the desktop view. Okay, that seems to be working just fine. Perfect. Okay. All right, so I think next up we'll shift the focus to let's go ahead and add in the nav bar at the top. So we'll close out student page. We can close out sidebar. The nav bar will be right here so that it is on all routes. I'm just making sure. Yep, it is showing up there. I think I want to change that hover color. Go to sidebar. That's amber 500. Let's go to yeah, that's fine. Okay. Just wanted to check the color of the sidebar there. I'm gonna close that out. Now let's go ahead and make or create the nav bar. So inside of the components directory in navbar folder, let's add a file named navbar.tsx. And we'll create the RAFC snippet, create a nav bar, hit save, go back to layout. We'll import nav bar from @components, and we can remove the div that holds the nav bar and replace it with nav bar. Click save. Then now we see the nav bar is listed on screen. So perfect. So now we just need to style it a little bit. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and work on this sidebar, excuse me, the nav bar now. And I think we're just gonna keep the styling rather simple on it. Just have a nav bar going right across the top, maybe about the same size as the sidebar, but it'll be sticky and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and shift the focus to that now. So inside of the navbar file, the only icon we'll need is search. So we'll go import fi search, and that's going to come from React icon /fi. You can remove this div tag and replace it with header. We'll give it a class name of sticky, and we want it set to the top of the 0. The Z index is going to be 50. We'll give it a border bottom, and let's just get something on screen. Okay. We'll set the border color to neutral 200. Make the border dotted. Actually, let's go make that a little lighter. Okay. And we'll set the background to white 80. We'll go backdrop of blur medium. Perfect. And then inside of the header tag, we'll replace it with a div and the class name of max auto, which is set the margins to auto. Give a direction of flex and set the height to 14. Header, there we go. Okay, see it on screen there, perfect. We'll say max width 7XL. Set the items to center. Okay. We'll justify end. Give it a gap of 3 and a padding on the X of 4. Perfect. So I want to have a search icon listed right here, and I'll design the mobile view of it first. But basically just want to have a on click where the icon will drop down and give the user the ability to search. But on the mobile devices, all you'll see is the icon. So once you click the icon, then it'll toggle down and the input will be available to search with. Yep, so let's go ahead and work on that now. So we'll use the details HTML tag, ETALS, and we'll include a summary, and we'll just have fi search, set the height to 5, the width to 5, and that should be fine. And you know what, let's make the text color neutral 500. Click save. We see it listed there. So for the details, we'll give it a class name of relative. And on medium, we want it hidden. Remember, this is just for small devices. And in the summary, we're going to give it a class name of grid. We'll set the height to 9, the width to 9. Click save so you can see it. There you go. We'll also add or place the items center since we are using grid. It is an item center. It is place item center. Perfect. And now you see the grid. The icon is in the middle. Okay. And we'll go rounded XL. We'll set the border to neutral 200. Then we'll go give it a background of white and a shadow of medium. Click save. Okay. Yep, we see a little shadow. Let's go with small. Okay, got a little shadow listed there. Looks pretty good. We'll add a hover. And on hover, I want the background to go to neutral 50, just so you can tell that you're hovering over it. There we go. That's perfect. And we'll go cursor pointer so it's not so choppy. So pointer. And I'm going to add a little bit of tailwind here. We'll go open bracket and WebKit details marker. And we'll go hidden. List will be none. And inside of the summary, we'll set the area label. We'll set this to open search. Click save. Okay. Now underneath this div, underneath this summary, let's add another div which is going to represent the actual input. And we'll give this div a class name of relative, relative. We'll add the FI search icon again with a class name of pointer events. Set the pointer events to none, and we'll go absolute left 3. This is going to style this icon within the input. We'll set the top to 1/2, 1/2. And we'll go translate on the Y of 1-2 for half. Set the height to 4, the width to 4, and set the text to neutral 400. Let's close this up. Click save. And you can see on click, we now have the little icon appear. Perfect. So underneath the FI search icon, let's add the input. We'll go type of text, a placeholder of search, give it a class name with a width of full, rounded. It's going to be extra large. We'll go border neutral 200. Just click save. Perfect. So there you see what it looks like right there on the screen. We'll go background neutral 50, padding left of 9, padding right of 3, padding on the Y of 2, set the text to small. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, not too bad. We'll go outline, none, ring will be 0, transition, TLN. We'll go focus, border neutral 300. We'll go fork focus, background will be white, and the area ARIA label with search. I have something off here. You know what? I'm missing a div right here. Let me copy this. Underneath summary, there should be a outer div. Paste it in. Give this a class name of absolute. We'll go right 0, margin top 2, set the width to 80, view width. Click save. Yeah, that looks a little better. There we go. 80. Set the max width to small. That's better. Go rounded 2XL. Go border neutral. 200. Set the background to white. Padding of 2. And the shadow will be large. There, it looks a lot better. So this is going to be the search input that we'll use to search for various students or whatever we want the ability to search for. But I think students makes the most sense, but we could always add to it or change it. Okay, perfect. So let me adjust that a little bit. So relative plus opponent events. What's this? Nope, top and a half. What if I gave it? Hmm. Hold on 1 second. Padding bottom of 2. Nope. So left half. I just need to move this up a little bit. That looks all right. It's just a little low. I would prefer it to be a little higher. 1/3 maybe. We're getting somewhere. 1/4. Am I asking too much? Yeah, that'll work. There we go. So we just have a simple on-click menu for the mobile. So if we click on it, it drops down and we'll be able to search from it. So let's shift our focus to the desktop view. As you can see, we currently don't have anything displayed. So let's work on getting something on screen now. All right, so underneath details, let's add another div and give it a class name of relative. The initial state for it will be hidden. Medium devices will go block, and medium width will be 420 pixels. Let's add the FI search. with a class name of pointer events none. We'll go absolute, set it to left 3 and a top of 1/2. We'll go translate on the Y of 1/2. This is for the placement, and we'll set the height to 4, the width to 4, and set the text color to neutral 400. And we'll close this up. Let's save it and take a look at it. Okay, so you see the search icon right here. That's perfect. Underneath the search icon, let's add a input with a type of text, a placeholder of search, and we'll give it some styling with a class name of width of full. We'll go rounded 2XL, go border neutral 200. Click save. Let's just see what this looks like. Okay, we see that listed there, so that's starting to come along. Just have the border, just need to add some padding and position the placeholder term a little better. Do that now. Let's go, you know what, let's make this 50. And we'll go padding on the left of 9, padding on the right of 3, on the Y of, it's going to be 2.5. We'll set the text to small. The outline will be none. We'll go ring of 0 and transition. We'll set the focus for the border to be neutral 300. And we'll go focus BG white. Come outside of it and set the area label to search. Click save. Let's check it out. Looks a lot better. Now it's starting to look like a actual search bar. We can see it here on screen. And I know you can barely see it with the border. Let's make that border a little darker. All right, let's make the border a little darker. I think I have it as 50. Let's set it to 200. Hit save. Now let's check it out. That looks a lot better. And you can see it a lot better as well. So I think I'll may go ahead and add a simple avatar there as well, just to represent a logged in user right over here. So underneath this div, let's add a button, and this will be a avatar. We'll go span inside of the button of the JA dab. The button will get a class name of flex, set the height to 9, the width to 9. We'll make the item centered. You see that there. Perfect. So then with the items being centered, we'll set the overflow to hidden. Overflow to hidden. And we'll go rounded full. Go border. The border will be neutral 200. We'll set the background to gradient. We'll go to bottom right. From neutral 100 to neutral 900. Okay. I could probably make that a little lighter. I want to make that 200. And instead of it being all of that, let's just make it JD.